Hello, my people. This is Florence again on your Senior Citizens Corner. Over the past few weeks, I've been getting requests. One of Zambia's favorite traditional foods, Chikanda. People have asked me to say, Florence, Auntie Flo, why don't you make Chikanda? So I got lucky. Mom came over. You know, as Kulubupé or Monica, she came over. So we said, okay, people want to know how to cook the traditional Zambian favorite dish, Chikanda. So today we are going to cook Chikanda. I would actually refer to that ground orchids. We make something like kind of a food which would look similar to polony, which we call Chikanda, and is made from ground orchids. If you Google, you'll find out what ground orchids are. So we've started a bit late. Today is Sunday. We went for an outing and we've just come back, but we said since mom is leaving, let's catch her and cook the Chikanda. So what do we need? We need the following. Number one, you need the Chikanda powder. These are ground orchids. They look like tiny little Irish potatoes. We clean them, we pound them, dry them, and you get that. So this is the Chikanda powder. We need Chikanda, and then we also need raw nuts. Pound them, and then I've added some water. So there you have it. It's the raw nuts and some water. I'll get to the measurements. We need salt. Beg your pardon. This is the salt. This is pink Himalayan salt. They say it's healthy. And then bicarbonate of soda. Some people just say soda, but bicarbonate of soda. And just to add taste, we add some hot chili. So those are the ingredients, and of course the water for cooking. Next thing is the measurements. What are the measurements? For the Chikanda, we have put 1.5 cup. Am I right, Wanakulwupe? 1.5 cup of Chikanda. Chikanda and the groundnuts is actually 2 to 1. So 1.5 cup of Chikanda. For the groundnut, we have put just about 2 cup of the groundnuts, and then the water we have put 2.5 cups. Salt, 1 teaspoon of salt. Bicarbonate of soda, 1/2 teaspoon. And for the chili powder, it's according to your taste. If you like food hot, you put more. If you don't, you put less. But we've put 1/2 teaspoon. So we'll go straight into the cooking.
Welcome to our kitchen. Today we are cooking Chikanda, and we start with groundnuts mixed with water, which I have put on my mbaula, the brazier. Then I will wait until this is boiling. When it starts boiling, I will take Chikanda powder and begin mixing slowly in the mixture of groundnuts and the water, which is on the fire. We don't immediately put ingredients in it, although modern days they are putting, because we allow Chikanda to be mixed by itself to understand its nature. Because there are many types of Chikanda which is on the market now. You have to cook it by itself first before you begin adding other ingredients.
All right, like we said, it's getting late, but we have to catch mom here. So while we are waiting for the Chikanda to boil, bringing the mixture to boil, maybe I just want to ask mom a few questions about the Chikanda. Chikanda is quite a famous food in Zambia, which is found at most occasions like weddings, lunches, and so forth. And it's even popular in big supermarkets. So the first question is, what is the history of Chikanda? Where did it start from?
Chikanda's history is not very clear, but we found our people liking it because when you cook and a person is traveling, you can pack it nicely in the leaves like banana leaves. You put the banana leaf over the fire and you wrap the Chikanda. And a person who is traveling like they were traveling from northern province, from anywhere in the province, in the country. They were mostly drifting to the copper belt. On the way they had to sleep many days. So they wanted a food which could not go bad and yet easily used as food. So Chikanda was being one of those things they were taking. dry fish, dry meat, and then chikanda. In the evening, they will cut chikanda, cook unshima, and eat. They are safe. Then it became popular because when you have chikanda, especially our friends who drink beer, they put a lot of salt and piri chili powder. When they eat, they feel good. So it became popularized by people who were patronizing beer halls. Because those days we didn't have what you are calling today a bar. We used to call it beer hall.
Beer halls and pubs. So, Mom, how long can chikanda stay without refrigeration?
Chikanda can stay even for 5 days.
Even 2 weeks, I'm sure, because I think I've seen that.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Okay, so chikanda became popular because it can stay long. I remember my grandmother used to cook chikanda. She would keep it on top of the fridge or on top of the cupboard. When you visit her, she gives you chikanda. And sometimes you think that, oh, maybe I'm going to get sick. But absolutely nothing. It can stay 2 weeks, even 3 weeks. That is why this food became very popular. So another question I have is, where is chikanda naturally found in this country?
In our time, chikanda was found in swampy areas. Just if there is a big lake, at the bank of the lake, there was grass, and among those grass, you found the chikanda growing in between the grass. Some chikanda is found where there is it is a swampy area with no water, but during the rainy season, this area becomes watery everywhere. When the rain goes, in June, July, August, we go and dig it out and use it as chikanda. They dry it, of course. In those days, we used to dig a hole. You put imito. What is imito in English?
Ashes?
You put ashes in that ditch. Then you pour chikanda there, alternating with imito,
Ashes.
with ashes, chikanda ashes. Then it would stay longer, fresh. Then when it commercialized came, we started drying it right from the beginning.
Oh, that's very interesting history about chikanda. So chikanda is still very popular. If you are in this country, Zambia, if you go to a wedding, you go to a function, you go to a big hotel, you will find one of Zambia's favorite traditional food, chikanda. And if you don't prepare that food in this country, people will ask you to say, don't you have some chikanda? So it is all over. If you want to buy chikanda, you just go to any of the big markets, you will find the chikanda. I think the mixture has boiled. Actually, what I wanted to say, chikanda, when you cook the chikanda, it looks like a pudding. It's a pudding that is made out of orchids. What is next?
The next thing, if we look at this, it is too thick. We need 1 cup of boiled water so that we don't reduce the heat before we start mixing with chikanda. It is too thick to start like this.
We are now moving to the next step, which is to add the chikanda to the groundnut water mixture. As Banakulubupe said, when we looked at the groundnut water mixture, we noticed that it was a bit thick, so we added 1 extra cup of water. Just take note, we added some extra water. So, Mom, over to you.
Now we have reached a stage where we have to mix chikanda into intwiro, which you call a mixture of water and groundnuts. We call it intwiro. Then I take a little in my hands, while the other hand is receiving this slowly.
As if you are cooking nshima or ugali or tadza or fufu. Okay. So we are ready to go to the next step. The next step is adding the chikanda powder to the mixture of groundnuts and water. So what we noticed is that the chikanda powder was too dry. If the chikanda powder is very dry, you are advised to add some water so that you bring it back closer to being fresh. So Vanakulupe will explain to us what to do at this stage. We noticed that our chikanda powder was very dry. We added some water. Vanakulupe, can you shed more light on this matter?
Normally, traditionally, chikanda was cooked on the same day. We took it from the swamp, we come and clean it and pound it and cook. But these days it has been commercialized. It gets very dry. When you get a cup of chikanda, also take a cup of water, cold water. Mix it and leave it for about 10 minutes. Then the chikanda will drink that water and become fresh. Then you come and mix it with boiling mixture of groundnuts and water. That's what we have done now, and now we are continuing to add to the boiling groundnuts mixture which is on the fire.
So here we go. Here Mom is now adding the Chikanda mixture to the water groundnuts mixture, and as you can see, that is how you do it. It's actually similar to cooking the Zambian staple food called nshima, or in Zimbabwe it is called sadza. In Tanzania they call it ugali. West Africa it's fufu. This is how you cook it. So you mix as you are adding the powder which has been soaked in water, and you continue mixing until it reaches a certain consistency. So we will come back to you once we get to the required consistency. So we continue with our cooking. So as you can see, we continued to add chikanda to the groundnut mixture, and as you are adding, you notice that the mixture begins to thicken. And what we have seen is because we added water to the dry chikanda mixture, it expanded. So the measurement is still the same. We had said 1.5 cup, but we should just say 1.5 cup after you have added some water to the chikanda and it expands. So Mom said that when she was adding, she noticed that the ratio between the groundnuts and the chikanda had reached its optimum level. So we are not adding any more chikanda. We'll just continue to cook. Wanakuluvupe, can you say something here?
What you have said is that this chikanda we had measured when it was dry. After adding water to make it come back to freshness, it expanded. The chikanda drank that water and became fresh and more. So we cannot use more chikanda to add to that. What is left, we keep for next use. What is already there, the groundnuts have complained, don't add any more. I have no power to add oil chikanda. So I have stopped adding chikanda according to the amount of groundnuts that I have. I have to stop here. Now I add these ingredients which are here: salt,
Chili
piri
powder
piri, chili powder,
or piri piri.
piri piri. Then soda will come next. The soda I have added to the water because the mixture of chikanda is already hard. So I have to help it to be soft to mix properly by adding water to the soda.
About
Bicarbonate of soda.
about
I
3
put it.
teaspoons.
When I test it, it tells me that it is okay or it's too much. So now I add salt, which was 1 teaspoon. This in piri piri, it depends upon the taste of people eating. You can put more or you can just put a pinch in order to allow those who don't eat hot food to eat it. As you can see, it is already getting hard. Then now I put soda, which I have soaked in water and it has melted. I just add water in order to the mixture to make it taste like chikanda, and mix it quickly because chikanda is already complaining that I am late.
Okay, so we continue mixing and we'll get back to you on the next step. So we continue with the next step. We have added all the seasonings. We have added the salt, we've added the chili powder, and we've added the bicarbonate of soda. And what I would like to say is, in traditional cooking, what we do is we use the eye, we also test. For example, if you've put bicarbonate of soda and you can't taste the soda, you can always add a little bit more. We did test the mixture and found that the soda was not so right, so we added a bit of soda. And we also noted that the chili, we didn't like, it was not we couldn't taste the chili, so we added a bit more chili. But the next step, I'll hand over to Banakulubupe to explain. Banakulubupe.
We have come towards the end of our cooking. Because now chikanda has become hard, we have added the last ingredient, which is soda, bicarbonate of soda we have added. We can't continue now mixing. We shall be late. We have now to form it into a shape like a cake. So now I'm putting it in the center of my pot and make it smooth and let it cook on very little fire. In fact, it's simmering
On low heat.
on low heat.
And
that simmering takes about 1 to 1.5 hours, slowly cooking it so that it can, what do we say in English? So that it can come together and cooked properly and tasting like chikanda.
How do you say it in Bemba?
In Bemba we say, tumamantishe chikanda pakuti imoneke kwatini cake smart and nice, so that when we come to cut, everybody will be happy that they have received equal portions. Because if it is not properly put, when cutting it will somewhere be too small, too light, too what.
Okay, so basically what Mom is saying is that we put the chikanda together so that it looks somewhat like a cake, or is it a pudding, so that as you serve the chikanda, everybody gets equal shares. So we'll get back to you on the next step. Like she said, the chikanda has to cook for about 1 hour. 1 hour to 1.5 hours. And again, like I said, for traditional cooking, you check and you see if it is ready, and then we go on to the next step. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last time I just said ladies, I apologize. It's ladies and gentlemen. I know even gentlemen are great cooks and great chefs, so apologies for that. It's ladies and gentlemen. The next step is, if you are using modern way of cooking in your kitchen, you grease an oven-proof dish like this one. You grease your oven-proof dish and then you put your chikanda on the oven-proof dish. Traditionally is like what you can see here. They make kind of something like an oven. The charcoal that was sitting in the charcoal basin but is put underneath, and then some of the charcoal from the basin is put on top of the pot, as you can see. And just a caution here, when you are cooking on a brazier, I usually use my cheaper pots, which are metal cheaper pots, because you can't get your beautiful pots and put charcoal on top and all. So make sure you're using a versatile pot that you can be able to put your charcoal on top and also put charcoal below. So we are going to cook this for how long, Banakulubupe?
It depends upon the mixture of chikanda. If it is very thick and big, you should take not less than 1 hour in this position. But when it is just a small one for the family for eating, it can take 30 minutes or 40 minutes the longest. And the size of the chikanda is not so big. That's why we can cook like this for 30 to 40 minutes. But if it is chikanda for selling, you even cook for 2 hours.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are cooking the chikanda for between 30 minutes to 1 hour. Of course, we are going to check until the next step. There's something else to be said about this special delicacy, the chikanda. There are different types of chikanda or ground orchids. When you are cooking these ground orchids, they respond differently to the cooking process. So Mom is going to say something about the different types of chikanda or ground orchids, because sometimes you may follow all the steps that we have given you and find that your chikanda chikanda is not hardening, it's not thickening. The reason is because there are different types. So usually before you cook your chikanda, you have to test it and see whether it will work. So Manakulu Wupe will tell us more about this.
There are different types of chikanda and names. In Zambia, we have got matibula, we have got miala, we have got mishilashila, and we have got kanunka, and we have got chipekelele. So chipekelele does not get hard. It remains like porridge. Even if you put soda, it remains like porridge. And normally we don't take it. We leave it in the field. This other one, miala, is not difficult, and when you are cooking, it turns red. Very beautiful, not complete red, between brown and reddish. Even in the pot you will see it is giving that color of between red, I can say brown, I think so.
Reddish brown.
Then we come to matibula. Matibula is also different. It is whitish. And it tastes different from miala. It tastes different from mishilashila. Smells a very different strong smell. Some people don't even like to eat it, but when you get used to its smell, you enjoy it. It is like roots. It doesn't become round like like the common one, which looks like Irish potato. It is mishila, which we say roots. So we call it mishilashila. So when you are cooking, you have to put that into account.
So, Mama, a question for you. In the modern day, we buy the orchids or the chikanda from the market. So, how are you going to tell which type of chikanda you have bought and how to cook it?
Normally, we ask the people who are selling chikanda. Today, we have had chikanda from Tanzania, from Angola, and that type of chikanda is totally different from what we have here. And when you are cooking, you have to be very careful. If it is possible, ask the person from where the chikanda came from before you cook.
Okay, so the chikanda that we have cooked today, what type of chikanda, or what is it closer to? Which type of chikanda?
The chikanda we have cooked today, I asked the lady who was selling. She said it was from Angola. And being from Angola, you have to be careful not to follow our methods completely. We use the same methods, but when you are testing it, it won't be like our chikanda when you are cooking. When it gets cooked, you will find it falling from the wooden spoon very easily. But this Angolan chikanda, if you are not fast, it gets hard before you are ready for it. So you have to know the source of that chikanda that you are cooking.
But the question was, Zambia and Angola are neighbors, so it's almost the same is it the same terrain or the same type of vegetation? So which one is this chikanda that we are cooking closest to in terms of the names?
The closest one is matibula.
It's closer to matibula type of chikanda. Okay, thank you for that. I thought that was important to mention because sometimes when you're cooking chikanda, you follow all the steps and you find that it is not responding, and the reason is what our chef here has just explained. There are different types of chikanda that respond differently when you are cooking. So every time you're cooking chikanda, before you prepare for your family, first do a little experiment or a little test for yourself and see how it comes out, and then you can make it for your family. Talk about determination. It is now night time, but like I told you, Mom is leaving and she's going back home, so we just try to catch her to help us to cook the famous chikanda. And some of you asked for this very popular traditional recipe. So we cooked for about 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, and there is your outcome. There is our chikanda. As you can see, it looks like a pudding. What we have to do next is just to put the mixture into a serving plate. This is the end product of the chikanda. We are not going to take you through the testing. As you can see, it is quite dark now, and so we're just going to let you know of how it was made. But we've done the chikanda. What we wanted you to do was to get the basic idea, and I promise you we are still going to cook chikanda again the perfect way. At this stage we just wanted you to get an idea about how to cook the chikanda, the process.